Hi. One of the most interesting things to me right at the start was when I realized that they're actually paired up. Now, it's not always lifelong. It's not always monogamous, I guess you'd say. They do break up occasionally. There was this pair, Scrapper and Scrapperella. They were together for several years. She's a feather plucker. She pulls out all her feathers. That's unheard of in a wild bird. Pet birds get into it. So maybe she was somebody's pet and got started there. She was plucking herself, and she was plucking Scrapper, her mate. To this day, there's an area around Scrapper's neck that's never grown back. They broke up. I always like to think it was because she was plucking him, and he was getting tired of it, and he kept asking her to please stop, and she kept promising she would, but she was obsessive and couldn't. Hey, Connor. You're a beautiful bird, Connor. You know, it's funny because I can make jokes about the other birds, but I don't really make jokes about Connor. There's something about him that really stands out. It's not just because of the blue head. Connor's a different species than the other birds in the flock. He's a blue-crowned conure. His personality is a lot different than the cherryheads. They're really hot, feisty birds. And Connor is really cool and quiet. He's also kind of cranky. Actually, he's very cranky, aren't you, Connor? But that's because he doesn't have a mate. He's not treated well by the others. But it's interesting because he's been out in the flock longer than any of them. There was a small group of 4 birds that started this flock, and he was in that group. I think only one of those others is still alive. So Connor's at least 13, 14 years old. He's always been friends with the outcasts. He's befriended several parakeets. There was a bird I called Smitty who used to eat the crumbs that fell out of Connor's beak. Little bits of apple would drop, and then the budgie would get to eat those crushed bits of apple. I don't think Connor really liked Smitty. He was just tolerant. He's a parrot, so he needs some company. Every now and then, he'd get a little snappy with the budgie. Like a little brother, but a little pest. Connor is really regal, but he's also disgruntled. He's unhappy, clearly unhappy being with this species. He'd much rather be with other blue-crowned conures.